Grab your marshmallows and sleeping bags for the Burnt Marshmallows podcast, where cozy mysteries come alive around the crackling campfire. Picture yourself wrapped in a warm blanket, sipping hot cocoa as we share spooky tales that will whisk you away to a world of mystery, ghosts, and perhaps even an occasional monster. Crime-solving spirits, urban legends, Bigfoot, we've got it all. Join Burnt Marshmallows every Tuesday, wherever you listen to podcasts for cozy mysteries.
Darkcast Network. Out of the shadows come the best of indie podcasts. I'm Tiffany, the host of True Crime Connections Advocacy Podcast, and you are listening to Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBTQ.
Hey, this is a true crime show where the host sometimes has a potty mouth. Yeah, I know, that silly bitch likes to swear. Hey there, Rainbow Warriors. Welcome to Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBTQ+. I'm your ever so lovely host, CJ. Guess what? This month is my 5-year anniversary, podiversary. And I've been trying to think of a fun way to celebrate it with you. Yes, Beyond the Rainbow has been around for 5 whole years now. What I think I might do is put together 5 true crime quickies. What do you guys think? Have you any other ideas on how I can celebrate with you? If you do, please email me, hit me up on the socials, or on my website at beyondtherainbowpodcast.com. Also, I'm still taking opening sound bites that say, Darkcast Network, out of the shadows come the best of indie podcasts. I'm your name, and you're listening to Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBTQ+. I'll leave this script and my email in the show notes. I'd love to have some more of these from my listeners. I went to the Pride in the Park event in my little city, and I met some really nice people. I handed out Beyond the Rainbow stickers and Darkcast Network cards. I took Jack, and he seemed to have fun for the most part, although I think some of the bigger dogs and loud music scared him at times. The bummer of the event was that there were several protesters carrying signs about sinners, and one had a portable microphone who was spewing out a religious sermon. I kept thinking, oh great, Fred Phelps and the Westboro Baptist Church are here, and they've come to spread their hate. But aside from them, this event seems to be getting larger, which is incredible. I was even able to pick up a Kamala Harris bumper sticker. Woohoo! Sorry I wasn't able to pull together a fresh episode for everyone last week. Time has not been too kind to me lately. Like I said, I've been doing Beyond the Rainbow for 5 years now, with pretty much an episode a week. I've told some people that I'm close to that I have no plans to quit my show. In fact, I'd quit running Darkcast Network before I quit my show. At this time, I have no intention of letting either go, though. However, I think I've made a decision that during the summer months, I'm going to be dropping back on my episodes to every other week, and then back to every week the other 9 months of the year. Hopefully that'll work out for everyone and allow me some downtime in the process. Remember, the True Crime Fest Northwest will be happening in Portland, Oregon at the Sheraton near the airport on August 30th through September 1st. I'll leave a link to it in my show notes. And if you type in Rainbow 10 at checkout, you'll receive 10% off your tickets. And if you do use my code, come see me at my table. Say this to me. I used Rainbow 10, and I'll give you a free t-shirt because I know that you've been listening. Okay, with that, let's get into our case. They were considered typical cisgendered heterosexual women for most of their lives. Even after they entered into an alternative lifestyle together, they were both pretty unclockable as lesbians. But their sexual identity didn't define them. The tough lives they had led and their roads to destruction with addictions, that didn't define them. The trauma they had suffered at the hands of others, that didn't define them either. What did define them was their strength and their courage to want to do better, to help others. They both wanted to be good moms and good role models for their children. When they found each other, both had lived through very similar situations, almost as if they were living parallel lives to one another. 28-year-old Kandis Majors and 32-year-old Terri Seibeck both had been married to men, and both were mothers to at least one child as a result of these marriages. Their fairy tale weddings and marriages, they didn't have happily ever after endings. Both of their marriages ended in divorce. And then they met. Somehow Kandis and Terri found each other, and the magnetic pull of needing good karma in their lives, it brought them together. Kandis was born September 16, 1981 as a Virgo in Mount Carmel, Illinois. She was attending Wren Lake College. It was here that she was enrolled in the X-ray technician program. She had graduated from John A. Logan in 2003. From that college, she received a degree in cosmetology. And while she was attending John A. Logan, she was a cheerleader for the Vols. Kandis was a 1999 graduate of Johnston City High School. She was very involved while she was in high school, again a cheerleader, and she enjoyed taking part in local beauty pageants. Terri was born on March 31, 1977 in Marion, Illinois. She was an Aries. Terri worked for her father's painting business, and she was also self-employed as a painter. By 2007, the two women were living together in a home in West Frankfort, Illinois. By 2009, they were head over heels in love with each other. They supported each other's sobriety, encouraged each other, and most importantly, together they felt safe, and they needed each other. Kandis and Terri even had plans to marry each other at some point. Understanding firsthand that sometimes people get down on their luck, Kandis and Terri opened their home up the beginning of fall in 2009. They allowed the couple of 19-year-old Afton Ferris and her 29-year-old boyfriend Michael Schallert to stay with them. Of course, the first week or so, Afton and Michael were on their best behavior, gracious for the hospitality of their hosts. But a little over a month of Afton and Michael living with the two women, Kandis and Terri started to notice some of their belongings had gone missing. The two women were sure that it was Afton and her boyfriend Michael that was stealing from them. In the afternoon of October 18, 2009, Kandis and Terri had packed up what little belongings Afton and Michael had with them, and they put it outside. They then confronted the couple, and they told them that they needed to leave their home, and they were not welcome back. Afton and Michael then headed to a friend's home where they were going to stay for the night. At this other friend's home, the couple waited until their friend fell asleep, and then they stole his .22 caliber Ruger pistol. And you know, with friends like these, I'd stick to my animals any day of the week. Am I right? As October 18th was fleeting away into October 19th, so it had to be around midnight sometime, the couple of Afton and Michael returned to Kandis and Terri's home. Their game plan was to show up on Kandis and Terri's doorstep, and they would be all apologetic for upsetting them. But when they arrived, they saw that the women had company, and they patiently waited for the company to leave. Once Afton and Michael knew it was just Kandis and Terri at the home, they knocked on the door. One of the two women answered the door. Afton and Michael asked if they could come in and talk, but mostly they just wanted to offer an apology to the two women. As they entered the home, Michael had the pistol tucked into the back of his pants. And I'm sure Kandis and Terri thought that they were dealing with rational thinking adults. And that's the whole reason they even let him back in the house. But once inside the house, Michael removed the pistol and he shot Terri, then Kandis, then Terri again before the gun jammed up on him. Terri, who was wounded, grabbed the house phone, and she took a few steps outside to try and call 911, but Afton tackled her and dragged her back inside. This caused Terri to drop the phone. With Terri moaning in pain, Afton then took the gun from Michael. She somehow unjammed it and shot Terri. But Terri was still moving, so Afton shot her a couple more times. At the end of this nightmare, Terri had been shot at least 5 times, and Kandis at least 4 times. Almost all of the shots were to each woman's head. Neither woman survived. Before fleeing, Afton and Michael stole credit cards, cash, cigarettes, and a small box that contained marijuana that the women affectionately called their weed box. And then Afton and Michael stole the car that belonged to Terri. At first, Afton and Michael thought they would head to Texas to hide in plain sight, but they changed their minds. They left Illinois behind and drove through Missouri to Kansas, and they finally ended up in Fort Collins, Colorado, using the credit cards that they stole from Kandis and Terri at least until they got through Kansas. Later in the day of October 19th, Kandis did not show up for her classes at the college, and Terri did not show up for a painting gig that she had. One of Terri's aunts, who owned the home that the women lived in, dropped by to check on Terri. She walked up to the door, and she saw blood on the door. She immediately called 911. When police arrived, they received no response from inside, and they went into the home. They found the dead bodies of Kandis and Terri. Family members of the women helped police determine some of the missing items from the home, including the missing credit cards in Terri's car. Detectives put a trace on the women's credit cards, and through this, they were able to follow a digital trail to find Kandis and Terri's killers. But the credit cards, after they had been used a few times, were found laying on some grass off of an interstate in Kansas. By late October, the U.S. Marshals were now joining the hunt, and along with Larimer County Sheriff's Department in Colorado, they tracked down Afton and Michael in a trailer park. Terri's car was parked right out in front of the trailer. Only now it had stolen Colorado license plates on it. Law enforcement made their move and they arrested Afton and Michael. Moving the killer couple to the police station, they started to ask questions. But Afton and Michael weren't talking, at least not until the West Frankfort Police of Illinois showed up. That's where the crime happened. Once the West Frankfort Police arrived, the killer couple confessed to everything. The police noted Michael smelled of alcohol, and his eyes were bloodshot. Michael admitted to having drank some beers and smoked some weed. Michael then told the police that he and Afton had committed so many crimes in the past few weeks, they were planning on taking their own lives. Afton told the police, "We're sorry we did this. I wish we hadn't done this. But we'd been pushed too far. Terri and Kandis were thieves and liars, and they continuously stole from one another, and we were the ones that got the blame." She continued on. "They told me they had put our things outside and we were now homeless. So we stole a gun and did that. I'm sorry I did it. All I wanted to do was spend the rest of my life with my soulmate, and we couldn't do it. You know, Afton, I know you were only 19 at the time, but it's always best if you're going to apologize for your actions and make it sincere. Don't blame the victim for their own death. Truth of the matter is, Afton, you and Michael are the thieves and liars. And if the couple were really planning on killing themselves, law enforcement got to them first. They had just found a place to live, so I kind of don't believe that they truly planned on taking their own lives. And now they were being forced to have to stand trial as it should be. But before we get into the trial, here's a little bit of background on our killers. Michael was born in 1979 and raised in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He became a father at the age of 15 years old. Still being a child himself, Michael was in no way ready for the responsibility of fatherhood. Instead, he became a drifter and he floated around the Midwest taking odd jobs when he could find them. He met Terri Seibeck and was invited to stay with her for a short while. He returned to Cheyenne, Wyoming in 2008. So it did seem Michael knew Terri prior to killing her, and that was most likely how he was able to gain access again for he and Afton to live with Terri and Kandis. When Michael returned to Cheyenne in 2008, he met a homeless 18-year-old girl named Afton Ferris. Afton had been in and out of foster care, although she was named valedictorian of her high school, which makes me believe Afton was definitely the brains of the couple. Michael was so in love with Afton, he would have done anything to have her love him back. He had asked his sister if he and Afton could live with her, but Michael's sister had just given birth to a baby, and she told him that was not possible. So Michael and Afton headed to West Frankfort, Illinois. And we know how the rest of the story plays out up until the trials. The court cases for both of the accused were in July and August of 2011. Afton went first in July. She conceded half of the blame for the murders of Kandis and Terri, but at her trial she flipped a 180, and she tried to throw Michael under the bus. She pleaded not guilty, saying that the killings, the robbery, and identity theft, it was all Michael's idea. Okay, Miss Valedictorian, sure it was. She also claims she was high on drugs the night of the double murder, and she doesn't remember most of the night. Before the judge sent the jury off for deliberation, he reminded the court of the rough life Afton had led prior to the crimes. But then he said it doesn't excuse her actions on October 19, 2009. The jury came back with guilty for 2 first-degree murder charges, guilty for home invasion, and guilty for armed robbery. The judge sentenced Afton to life in prison without parole, and 50 years for the home invasion, as well as 50 years for the robbery charges. I'm pretty sure Afton will most likely die in prison. If not, she's going to be super old before she's ever released. In August of 2011, Michael too was sentenced to life without parole for the first-degree murders of Kandis and Terri. Because he pleaded guilty, the other charges of home invasion and robbery were completely dropped. At his trial, Michael was somewhat remorseful as well. He said to the victims' families, "Nothing I can say can bring Kandis and Terri back. I completely deserve the punishment I received, and I hope this puts your mind at ease a little bit." Neither Afton nor Michael have appealed their cases. Rest in power, Kandis and Terri. Our true crime quickie is from Bakersfield, California, just last year in September 2023. 43-year-old Daniel Laderos had every reason to be celebrating on September 18, 2023. It was his birthday. He was out with a friend around 11 p.m. at night, just taking a leisurely walk through Yokitz Park in Bakersfield. This park is known to have a high amount of gay traffic walking through it at night. Okay, possibly hooking up too and not just walking through it. Daniel and his friend were approached by a 27-year-old man named Freddie Rivera. Freddie was wearing a black baseball hat, a black t-shirt, and black shorts. He jumped in front of the two men and hurled several gay slurs at Daniel and his friend. And then he walked away towards his black Hummer that was parked in the parking lot. The birthday boy Daniel was pissed, and he followed the park bully to his car. Daniel's friend told him to just let it go, but Daniel was not listening. Daniel got up to the bully's car, and he slung an insult of his own at Freddie. Within a minute or two, Daniel's friend heard a gunshot, and then he saw Daniel stumbling across the parking lot towards him. Daniel was holding his chest as the Hummer ripped away from the parking lot. Daniel's friend called 911 and emergency services arrived, but Daniel was pronounced dead at 11:18 p.m. After shooting Daniel, Freddie got into the Hummer and he sped away. He drove to an orchard in a remote area and he set the Hummer on fire. Daniel's friend was able to give a description of the Hummer in the parking lot, but not of the man who was driving it and shot Daniel. Then, suddenly, when the burnt-out Hummer appeared in that orchard, the police were able to track it to Freddie. Freddie was arrested for the murder of Daniel, but the district attorney didn't feel that there was enough solid evidence to prove the murder was a hate crime, so there'll be no hate crime enhancements being sought. This is fucking ridiculous to me. Freddie used gay slurs. Of course it was a hate crime. And Daniel's friend was a witness. I don't know why it's so hard to use that damn hate crime enhancement. Daniel was openly and proudly gay, and he was a huge advocate for the LGBTQ community. Had this crime happened to a member of his community, Daniel most likely would have been there fighting for the victim who was murdered. Freddie has a violent and criminal past. His ex-girlfriend, with whom he shares a child with, had a restraining order filed against him. And a month prior to him murdering Daniel, Freddie was arrested for grand theft for stealing from a Lowe's home improvement store in Bakersfield. Freddie sounds like an all-round bad cat to me, who most likely had his 3 strikes used up. Freddie had a preliminary trial in December of 2023. His bail was set to $1 million. No word if this case actually went to trial yet. But if and when it does, he's facing 15 to life if found guilty. 15 years for killing someone unprovoked sounds fucking absurd to me. Rest in power, Daniel. I love you, Rainbow Warriors. You matter. And remember, it's not a crime to be gay, unless you're a murderer.